So multinationals realized that there is a huge pressure from C-Dot. So cost per line just went down like crazy.
C-Dot is considered to be Sam's baby. Sam first came into India through C-Dot, a Center for Development of Telematics, which helped build up our own capability long before Infosys and Wipro and all these software companies. It was C-Dot.
Jack Welch, chairman of GE, came here. And he came here to sell engines. So I told Jack, I said, look, we want to sell you software. He said, I'm not buying software. I'm buying engine. I'm selling engines. I said, I'm not buying engines. He said, then we have nothing to talk. I said, fine. So he said, what do we do? I said, just have breakfast. And Jairam and Montek and others were upset because we locked horns. In about 90 seconds, which looked like 10 minutes, he said, okay, give me a presentation on software. So Jairam had put together a nice presentation.
So why don't you look upon India as a source for software?
And GE gave us $10 million order.
And they shortlisted Infosys. And we were one of the early beneficiaries of the software work from GE, which was a big leg up to us at that time.
In those days, even we wanted to make 1 million computers per year. So we had the whole scheme worked out. But everybody kept saying there isn't enough market in this country. So one day I told him, I said, look, we should talk to Gorbachev. Right after dinner, tell him you want him to meet Sam and two other friends.
Because I think Mr. Gorbachev was made to be aware of India's technological expertise in that 1 hour.
His ability to convince the political leaders to take a direction was very strong. And therefore, when we say the 1984 onwards there had been a revolution in IT in India, I'm absolutely sure that he had at least the direct and indirect hand in convincing political leadership in moving in that direction.
We worked on technology mission, telecom, and many other activities 18 hours a day. I was in charge of immunization. I called a meeting of all 70 experts on immunization in Asiad village. And I told them, I said, look, I'm going to lock you people up until you come up with a compromise on how we want to handle polio in India.
Sam was not a good manager, but he was a great leader.
We lost election. VP Singh became Prime Minister. I was very concerned. So Uni Krishnan became Minister of Communication. He had a job to do, I had a job to do. So then he set up a committee to investigate, had allegations against me of all kinds.
He was a very successful telecom entrepreneur. He had hundreds of patents to his name. He could have carried on making a large empire, financially speaking, in America under his own guard. I think he was clearly enamored by public service, which even today one can sense he is. He came to India, he felt he can make a difference, and I think he gave up all that he had back home to serve India and make a deep impact.
That my children and my wife started getting a lot of harassment. And I still remember, this was about 6 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock, and the head of Financial Times in India, Englishman, came to my house and he said, do you know what happened this afternoon? I said, no. He said, there were attacks on you and they're going to do this to you and do that to you, and my wife and my children were there at home. And they heard all this. So I sent them back to US and I was by myself. Then my wife was visiting from US and I had stomach pain at middle of the night. And my wife, knowing the pressure I was under, she said, we are going to go to escort. I said, it's only stomach pain. Immediately went to escort. So they did angiogram and found I had 8 arteries blocked. So he said, you have to go through bypass. Came out of surgery, went to office, started work again as chairman, Telecom Commission. And then elections were announced, another elections after a while. So started working with Rajiv on elections. And while he was traveling all over, we'll meet, talk, but I never went out with him because I was still working as chairman, Telecom Commission. And that evening, I got a call that Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated, blown out, died. It's a big shock, you know. Probably the biggest shock of my life, you know. And just didn't know what to do. Went to his house, you know, did all that stuff that everybody else did. Thought about what to do next. And realized that this phase has to end in life. Rajiv had died. Narasimha Rao was Prime Minister. I worked with him and I went to him and I said, look, I got to go back to US. I have to earn some money. Because in India, I can't make money. And I don't want to make money in India in telecom. Because I don't want somebody to come back to me and say, that's why you did all this stuff. So when the right time comes, you can cash in. Okay. I said, I don't want cellular license. I don't want to do anything. You know, I'm very clear because I don't want anybody to point finger at me at some point in time, saying here this master plan. You know. So I went back to US, but then I didn't have a visa to go back because I had given up my passport. I went on a tourist visa.
I would call him a dreamer. A dreamer who has desired to convert dreams into reality.
He looks at the simple sides of solutions and he wants to get it done. And he will use all his powers and even abuse all his powers in a good way to make sure that it happens. That's Sam Pitroda.
I discount all the awards given by the government, you know. And we name roads after the most obscure people, so I don't think that's a great acknowledgement either. I think work is the greatest acknowledgement. He's motivated a lot of people, as I said, and he continues to do that.
Poor wife has paid the price. Okay, I don't blame her. You know, somebody has to pay the price. I had my kicks. I told her that, look, when I was 20-year-old, I fell in love with you. When I was 40-year-old, I fell in love with India again. You know. So I would say of all the people in this journey, wife has suffered the most because she lost me a long time ago in terms of mental attention. You know, you're so possessed by all these crazy ideas, innovations and opportunities and mind. And you're not a normal person because you're not a politician. You don't have a job like a scientist or engineer or professor or teacher. You're not a businessman. Sometimes you don't know who you are. It's perfectly okay. I already had another heart attack in 2005. I already had cancer. Okay. I'm 66 years old. Okay. But I must say that BJP government had been nice to me. I must say that. You know, Mr. Bajpayee was very good to me. Even Mr. Advani has been personally very good to me. They all have been nice to me. You know, Muni Krishna was just one little, you know, incident in life. But overall, even at the end of the day, VP Singh changed the minister. Okay, so I would say overall, people of India have been very generous to me, and I genuinely mean that.